Hey, you. Yeah, you. In case you hadn't heard, your favorite Renegade Sports Media Group has its own Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Vendetta Sports Media to support our efforts to continuously bring you sports, gaming, and other media coverage as only we can. We've got 4 different membership tiers. For $3 a month, we'll give you a simple thank you on our Patreon site. For $6 a month, you get a thank you and you get to become a recruit in Jackson Law's Vendetta University Gaming Series. For $10 a month, you get everything from the previous tiers, a special thank you at the end of our videos, free access to our upcoming Discord chat, and a free koozie after 4 months. And then the big dog, $50 a month, gets you everything from the previous tiers, as well as opportunities for Fantasy League invites, stream gaming, possible invites to mock NFL and NBA draft sessions, a once-a-month Google Hangout, and after 4 months, a free t-shirt. Yeah! Go to patreon.com/Vendetta Sports Media and help us to improve our pledge to bring you the best sports, gaming, and other media coverage. What's going on, Tanimals? It is another harebrained, shenanigan-filled, and might I even say, a lot of chicanery-filled episode of the Tanndemonium Sports Show here on Vendetta Sports Media Network. With me, as always, is the co-host to the stars, Jackson Law. J-Law, how the hell are you?
Pretty good, man. Doing better than Nuggets fans today. They received the unfortunate news about their star player, Jamal Murray, out the rest of the year. Torn ACL. It's tough, dude. Playoff hopes are pretty much shot now. It's unfortunate. I got a good friend that's a Nuggets fan, and he's pretty sad today. So sending him some love.
Well, you know, I can't really feel too bad for him because he lives in Colorado where marijuana is legalized. So I'm pretty sure he can just, smoke a J and he'll be a little bit okay about that.
Oh yeah, and if you don't know also about the Snapchat or the Instagram story about Jamal Murray and his girlfriend,
no, I don't.
Let's just say the dude's already winning. Okay,
Fair enough.
Let's just say he's
fair enough. And joining us for some NHL chat, which is obviously, for those who don't know, every episode during this NHL season, we start out the show with NHL chat. And we're going between the Emma Brown or our special guest today. You know what? I'm not even going to recognize his hometown. I'm just going to recognize where he goes to school. South Bend's own Andrew McGuiness. Andrew, how the hell are you? How's the land of Rudy Rudiger?
Rudy Rudiger's hometown, not his hometown, but I mean, actually he is from the area, I think.
He's from Gillette.
Yeah, he's from kind of not from South Bend, but the area. Notre Dame is good. A little cold today, a little cold this week, but overall not too bad.
Well, maybe if you take off the sacrilegious hat of yours, it wouldn't be so bad.
Yeah, I'm trying to watch us on the side here not get walked off by the Mets right now.
Wow, the Mets are actually doing something. Oh, it's like the Mets aren't really the Pirates anymore. So
cool. Yeah, they've kind of moved past that stage.
They went from going a single A ball team in the majors to a triple A ball team in the majors. So good for them. So Andrew, we always have you on here. We try to have you on to get some of your expert analysis when it comes to the NHL.
Yes.
The trade deadline. What do you got for us, my man? We've got our notes, but I want to know also what you've got going on.
Well, I got to say, everyone was talking about coming into this deadline, like how big of an impact like COVID was going to have. And obviously the financial restrictions, salary cap didn't go up this year, and it's probably not going to go up for the next couple of years. And everyone seemed to be expecting a pretty quiet deadline, but honestly, it was pretty busy, I would say. It definitely kind of stalled a little bit in the afternoon yesterday, but there were a ton of trades that came in right before the deadline and some that came in right after as well. It was actually a pretty busy deadline, I think, all things told, and definitely some big moves yesterday.
All right, well, let's talk about a couple of those. I'm not going to start with what happened with my hometown Penguins. I'm not going to do that to start, but I do want to ask you about not just that trade, but what the Pens making that trade means. For those that don't know, Geno Malkin is out. He's listed as week to week. with, I believe it's a lower body injury. Am I correct on that one, Andrew? Is it lower body
I
injury?
assume you are. I mean, I don't follow the Penguins as
Fair
closely
enough.
as you do, so I'll trust you on that one. But
Fair enough.
in case
I'm
anyone,
probably wrong. I'm probably wrong. You know what? I'm sure Bridget, if I am wrong, Bridget will let me know. But so one of the first big trades, and your cohort, your counterpart, Emma Brown, wrote this story. Anthony Mantha to the Caps.
yeah, actually Mantha.
That
was like the last big one to come in, and that's definitely like the biggest shock, just because Mantha is a younger guy. He's under contract for the next couple of years as well. Detroit definitely didn't have to move him, as he's under contract for 3 more years after this one. But they got a really nice return from him. Jakub Vrana had 50 points last year, but it's kind of fallen out of favor. Had been healthy scratch the last couple of games. Richard Panik's a bit of a cap dump, but I mean, he doesn't make too much money, and Detroit's obviously a rebuilding team right now, so they can afford to take that on. But to get a first and a second round pick for what's really honestly like a marginal downgrade from Mantha to Vrana, in my opinion, is a really good return for Detroit. This, I think, is Yzerman's first signature move as a general manager there. And this is why Red Wings fans were so excited when he came home to be their general manager a couple of years ago, because he finds a way to make really good moves like this. And I don't think this is a bad move for the Capitals, but I think it's a really good one for the Detroit Red Wings.
And yeah, like you're saying, the Wings are in rebuild mode. That doesn't make me sad because F the Red Wings and F Marian Hossa. But I mean, hey, I think that's one of the things that makes trade deadline moves so exciting, is when you start seeing sort of the bottom tier teams start making those moves to get better, to get themselves to the next level. And yeah, getting a first and second round pick, that's a pretty big deal in any sport, really, especially for a younger guy who's still on his first contract.
Yeah, I think this is Mantha's second deal.
Oh, his second. Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely not his entry level deal. Yeah, he signed this coming off his entry level contract.
Gotcha. All right, so we got another one.
He's only 1 year older than Vrana too. So it's
okay.
Yeah, it's honestly, I think those two are pretty similar players. Mantha's a bigger guy, so I think Washington's thought process is, all right, he's going to be better in the playoffs when it's obviously more physical, which definitely makes sense. But Vrana is a really good player, smaller, but a really fast player, capable scorer. Like I said, over 50 points last year. He should fit in well with Detroit.
Now, so are you thinking then that Mantha's going to be do you think he's going to be working closely for Ovechkin, or is he more there to be a complement to Tom Wilson?
I think Wilson's always had great chemistry on that line with Ovechkin on the top line, so I don't see why you would break that up. Although, I mean, maybe they could do that because they have TJ Oshie on the right wing as well. And Mantha, even though he's a left-handed shot, he naturally plays on his offside. I mean, it's possible they might use him at left wing because Verano's the left winger and he would usually slot into their second line. So it's possible they just put Mantha in that same spot, but we'll have to wait and see.
All right, fair enough. Now, some more big news coming out of Toronto as well. There is a trade with Toronto and the Columbus Blue Jackets. Now, how often is it, Andrew, that teams will get rid of their captains? Nick, I'm going to butcher his last name, Foligno.
Yeah,
Nick Foligno is traded to the Toronto, traded to going up to the Great White North. So what's going on with that?
Well, you know the saying, Brian, if you can't beat a team in the playoffs, you might as well trade for their captain.
That's a good point.
I mean, Foligno, obviously, when you think of captain, you think of a superstar player, and Nick Foligno really isn't that. He's 33, so he's not washed up or anything like that, but he's definitely not in his prime anymore. And he's only got 1 year left on his deal, so he'll be an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. Columbus has been in a tailspin lately. They're almost certainly not going to the playoffs, and so it made sense to move Foligno. I wasn't even sure if they would do it, really, just because he's been there a long time. Like you said, he's the captain, so obviously he's a huge part of that franchise. And when you think the Columbus Blue Jackets, he's one of the first players you think of, but they got a really nice return for him. Just considering he's not like a super high-end scorer. He's mostly like a 30-point guy, like a third liner. Really good defensively, though. And so Toronto definitely gets a little bit of something that they don't really have in their forwards. Obviously, they have so many high-skill guys like Marner, Matthews, Tavares, Nylander. Foligno provides a little bit something different. I think that's why Kyle Dubas went out and paid a pretty hefty price to get him.
Yeah, first-round pick and a fourth-round pick. This year's first round and next year's fourth rounder.
Yeah, and they also gave up another fourth round pick as well. So the way it worked out is that Columbus retained half of his salary, And then they technically traded him to San Jose, so the Sharks could also retain half of the so the Sharks basically retained 25%, the Blue Jackets retained 50%, and then Toronto was paying the other 25%, which allowed Toronto to go out and make another move, a couple moves actually, later in the deadline.
Gotcha. So now what are going to be the COVID protocols with him going up to Canada?
So,
is he going to be in quarantine for 2 weeks?
He's got a quarantine for 1 week. They dropped that requirement from 2 weeks to 1 week a couple of weeks ago. And so that was another thing I think too that helped with the trade deadline being active, is that quarantine going down to 1 week. Now instead of a guy missing like 7 games, he only has to miss 2 or 3 traded for from an American to a Canadian team. So
gotcha. Now, and this was something that we asked Emma last week, and maybe you'll know. Has there been any word if the NHL is making vaccinations available to the players?
I have not heard of anything that myself. I know the Flyers head coach Alain Vigneault said that he got his vaccine the other week. And so I imagine, I mean, obviously a lot of states, most coaches and probably some players are eligible to get the vaccine. Like I know here in Indiana, I think they dropped the requirement to 16. I got my first shot the past weekend. So I definitely think in a lot of states, players and coaches are starting to get eligible. So, but I don't think the NHL specifically is like purchasing vaccines for the players.
Gotcha.
At least not at this point. I could be mistaken about that.
Gotcha. All right. So back in trade news, Taylor Hall, he's going to the Bruins. 29-year-old winger was traded on Sunday. Now the Bruins are sending the 2021 second round pick, and was it Anders Bjork to the Sabres?
Notre Dame guy.
All right. And so they're getting Hall and Curtis Lazar.
Yes.
And it's saying here that Hall wants that extension. He wants to stay in Boston now. So
yeah, he certainly hinted at it. The thing with Taylor Hall is that he's been criticized a lot heavily in the last couple of years. But if you look at Hall's career, he's never really been on a good team. He started out with the Oilers when they were just absolutely dreadful. He gets traded to a Devils team but never had a ton of depth. And then once they started to get a little bit better, their goalie Corey Schneider fell off. They had that one playoff appearance with him, but nothing too much came out of it. And then gets traded to the Coyotes last year, and they immediately tailspin like right after he gets there. They wind up making it in that qualifier series, but get killed in the first round by Colorado. And then he decides to sign with Buffalo in free agency, figuring he'll get to play with Jack Eichel and score a ton of points. And he winds up with 2 goals in 37 games. So that did not exactly work out too well for him. But now he's going to get a chance to play with David Krejci. And right now, David Pastrnak is on that wing with Krejci as well. They've broken up the perfection line a little bit right now. So if he's playing with Krejci and Pastrnak, I don't think he'll have any troubles producing. And if he does. Yikes.
They will run him out of Boston on a rail, no doubt, if he doesn't, because Boston, they don't mess around with their hockey. I think I know one thing, when it comes to New England sports as a whole, while they take their football very seriously, they take their hockey way more seriously. That pride in that original 6 title, if he's not producing, he's not going to be there much longer.
Yeah, and the fact that Marchand and Bergeron are both in their early mid-30s, so they're running out of elite cup runs. I mean, this certainly isn't like their last shot necessarily, but they only have a couple of years left probably before they start to decline a little bit. So they definitely want to take advantage of that window.
Right. And of course, the Tampa Bay Lightning picked up on David Savard trade.
Yeah, the rich get richer.
Yeah, I mean, now the Lightning were so dominant last year. Yep. Now they're just getting even better. But the Jackets, they get another first-round pick and a third-round pick in 2022. Now, they're getting salary cap hits, but they're getting some draft picks. So it looks like Columbus is going to be able to start building some pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. And props to their GM, Jarmo Kekalainen, for cashing in big on those 2 guys. I did not think Savard was going to get a first-round pick. And I didn't think Tampa was necessarily going to be the team to get him. If you look at the Lightning's defense, it's kind of weird because they have 3 absolutely amazing guys on the left side. The right side, though, is a little bit weaker on paper. I mean, obviously, last year in the playoffs, those guys, Hedman, McDonough, Sergachev, they proved for sure that they can carry guys on that right side who aren't as good. But Savard is definitely going to help out playing with one of those guys. I mean, I think he'll fit in well there. He's essentially like last year they brought in Zach Bogosian right before the trade deadline. Savard is kind of that same style, like a physical right-handed defenseman. But he's a better player, I would say, than Bogosian. So if he works out well as Bogosian did, Tampa Bay should be set.
Then Kyle Palmeri, he's in his final. He's in his final year with the Devils in his contract with the Devils, going across the river, going to the Isles.
Yep. So this move happened a couple days ago, and you can really see it coming. I actually predicted it in our latest power rankings article here on Vendetta. The Islanders just lost their captain, Anders Lee, for the year a couple weeks ago with a torn ACL. They really needed to get someone to replace him in the top six. And Palmeri is a pretty similar player. He's a guy who'll go to the net, a bigger body, not necessarily the flashiest player, but he puts up points. He's very solid, reliably defensively. They lose one Notre Dame player and leave for the year. They get another Notre Dame guy in Palmeri. And Zajac is a solid veteran depth at center, who their Islanders GM Lou Lamoriello is familiar with from his time with the New Jersey Devils.
Gotcha. Now let's round out the NHL talk with so Evgeny Malkin out week to week with a knee injury. Thank you, Bridget, for confirming. So the Pens made a pretty big move, the first real big move from their new GM. Going to get. We were talking about this a little bit off air, so tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, as a Flyers fan, I'm used to seeing Ron Hextall being the guy trading draft picks for a veteran player. It was always the other way around in Philly, so this is new for me, and I guess it's new for him too. But it makes sense, like you talked about, with the Penguins being without Malkin. They wanted to get a little bit more help at forward. Obviously, Jeff Carter, 10 years ago, he could have replaced Evgeny Malkin maybe a little bit better when he was like a 30, 40-goal guy with the Philadelphia Flyers. But he's a guy Hextall's familiar with. They both were on the 2012 Kings team that won the Cup. Hextall was assistant GM, so he was part of the management group that brought in Carter. That trade deadline, obviously, it worked out really well for LA. He was still around as well when they won the Cup again in 2014. He's not the same player as he was, almost a decade ago, obviously. He's 36 years old, so nearing the end of the line. But he's still a very solid complementary goal scorer. He can put the puck in the back of the net. He can play center or the right wing. He'll probably get some power play time as well. And for a conditional third and conditional fourth, not too bad. The one risk I guess you kind of run with Carter is that he's under contract through the end of next year. So there's a possibility that he maybe falls off really hard. He's a little bit of a cap anchor. But the Kings did retain 50% of his salary. So he's only on the books for, I think, like $2.65 million or something, or about that in Pittsburgh. So it's not the end of the world.
That's pretty good. I mean, I like looking at his stats, his primary stats for the year so far. 19 points in 40 games. I mean, that's not too terrible for 36 years old.
Not at all. A lot of the guys, those veteran guys in the Kings too, like Carter, Dustin Brown, even Anze Kopitar, had bounce back years. So definitely good to see him picking it up. Although, hopefully for my sake, I guess I got to root for him to kind of fall back off now he's in Pittsburgh. But not like it really matters right now with where the Flyers are in the standings. So
right.
We'll see.
So let me ask you this: we only have a few more minutes. Who do you think are some of the biggest winners and biggest losers at the trade deadline?
That is a very good question. I definitely think, like I was talking about, the Capitals are a big winner. Or not, sorry, the Capitals, the Red Wings, getting Mantha, getting Verana, or losing Mantha, but get Verana and get those 2 draft picks is absolutely huge for them. The Buffalo Sabres, I mean, I hate to pile on, but that return for Taylor Hall, we knew it was going to be abysmal, but sure enough, it's absolutely terrible. I mean, this guy literally won league MVP 3 seasons ago. The Sabres completely torpedoed his value by just not being able to get him to produce at all in Buffalo. Like I said, he literally only has 2 goals on the year. So to be able to only get a second-round pick, and Bjork, who's a decent bottom 6 guy with some skill, but not the greatest player in the world by any stretch, is definitely very, very disappointing, to say the least, for them.
So is it safe to say then that the Buffalo Sabres are where you go for your career to die?
Basically, yeah. It seems like that.
Damn, it's like going to the Pirates if you're in baseball.
It really is, honestly. Or like the Browns before this past year, the Browns in football. It's probably the best.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, the Browns are still a joke. Like, all right, so you had a good year. Good for you. You beat us in the playoffs. Good for you. Now let's see you do it again.
I mean, they've got a good team, but we'll see if they can.
Oh yeah, especially
always easier said than done.
Oh, especially if they do end up picking up Jadeveon Clowney. If Jadeveon Clowney goes to that team, that's a big.
Then there's no excuse anymore.
Right.
There's no excuse anymore if they get.
And our guest is looking to be admitted. So I'm going to admit our guest in. We're going to round this out, but I'm going to admit our guest into the room because I don't want to just like leave them hanging and then
Yeah, it'd just be like, what's going on?
Well, what the hell, man? All right, Andrew. So thanks a lot. You got anything new that is going to be going up on the site anytime soon?
Nothing too out of the ordinary, just my usual Flyers game recaps. They play again tonight, literally in like 3 minutes or so. So we'll see how that goes. They're actually playing the Capitals, who they just traded Michael Raffl to, one of their depth guys who'd been a Flyer his entire career for 8 years. So best of luck to you, Raff. I guess I got to hope for you to win a cup in Washington. Not rooting for the Caps, but I'm rooting for him. So,
bro,
thanks,
Michael. The one bit of hockey that you and I can agree on, and you started stepping to the dark side again. Come on, no Capitals victories.
Sorry,
no more Capitals.
8 years. He got that series-winning goal I wanted so badly.
If Sidney Crosby tomorrow went to the Capitals, I would not be rooting for him. No
personal success, but team
I'm rooting
failure.
for Raffl to do well. I'm not rooting for the Capitals to do well for the sake of the Capitals.
All right, I can forgive that.
Thank you.
Like a 2-goal game, but then they lose like 5-2.
Well, I'm just talking about
there you go.
Like,
there you go.
I want
That's
Michael Raffl to win the Stanley Cup, not the Washington Capitals. And if the Capitals winning the cup is what it takes for Raffl to get a cup,
then it's a bittersweet pill. It's a bittersweet.
I guess I take it.
It's kind of like you're going to drink your favorite beer, but you get the skunkiest one in the case.
I guess. Yeah.
Wait, are you even allowed to drink?
I'm not.
Do you? Oh yeah. Oh wow. Delinquency of a minor. Well, it's nice being free while I could. All right, Andrew, get the hell out of here before you get me arrested. Great to have you on, as always, with your expert NHL analysis. We will see you in 2 weeks because I cannot wait to talk with you and Emma both when we get to NHL playoff hockey. It is going to be lit. There is nothing like NHL playoff atmosphere.
Definitely.
All right, Tanimals. We're going to step out. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to bring in our special guest this week, a man who is he basically does amazing analysis for our partners over there at SimBull, and we're going to get some talk out of Cameron Manning. Going to see what's going on, and I'm going to tell you guys right now, if you go to SimBull.app/Vendetta, and it's your first time, you put in our promo code Vendetta and you will get an extra $10 to your very first deposit into your account. All right. If you're down for fantasy sports, but you hate the BS upkeep every week, then go to SimBull, because you buy stock in your favorite teams of the NFL, MLB, and NBA. And that's it. When they win, you win. They lose, their value drops, but you don't lose nothing. Simple as that. Go to SimBull.app/Vendetta. And if it's your first time setting up an account in your very first deposit, put in our promo code Vendetta for an extra $10. We'll be back right after this. We're going to talk to Cameron Manning. Andrew, we will see you in 2 weeks, my friend.
See you then.
All right. We'll be right back on the Tanndemonium Sports Show here on Vendetta Sports Media Network. The following is brought to you in partnership by SimBull. SimBull is a new sports marketplace where you can trade shares of professional teams like stocks. You love sports. You interested in fantasy sports without the weekly annoyance of fantasy league upkeep? Then SimBull's the app for you. With SimBull, fantasy sports is going to a whole other level. How it works is simple. You buy SimBull shares for your favorite sim teams on the app. When your sim team wins, you get automatic cash deposits, and you don't lose any money when they lose. That's it. So if you follow trends across football, basketball, and baseball, and you think your team is a sleeper, simply invest in your favorite sim teams on SimBull and watch your virtual portfolio prove you right or wrong. And if you want to get in on the action right away, Vendetta Sports Media's got you covered. Go to SimBull.app/Vendetta and use our exclusive promo code Vendetta, and you'll get a $10 bonus when making your first deposit. SimBull, taking fantasy sports to a whole other level.
Your show, brother.
We're back, all you Tanimals, here on the Tanndemonium Sports Show here on Vendetta Sports Media. And before I get into talking to our special guest, Cameron Manning, I'm going to say that your favorite Renegade Sports Media crew, we have a Patreon. Yeah. Help us out. Help us help you. Help us entertain you with the best intensive coverage of all sports and other forms of pop culture. Just go to patreon.com/Vendetta Sports Media. Check out the tiers and help us out. And all of your contributions that we've gotten over the last 6 months, we appreciate it so much. Big changes are coming, not just to Vendetta as a whole, but to this show personally. And I want to give a thanks to all of you that have donated. And make sure you go to vendettasportsmedia.com. Check out our swag on our stores, as well as some comprehensive analysis from the young fella that you just saw, Andrew McGuiness, to his counterpart, Emma Brown, and to all of our amazing writers, including the guy on the bottom, my co-host, Jackson Law, with some amazing content as well, with his head coach series. How you were able to get a good play-along session of Cyberpunk, I don't know, but you did it.
It wasn't always perfect. Let me say that. Literally was pushing my PC to the limit. See, the great thing about editing is that you don't see the ugly parts. You don't see me driving from one end of the city to the other, like at 5 frames a second and running into everything. Like that's what you're missing.
I just love the fact that, and here's a little thing about me, Cameron, and you're new here, so you wouldn't know this. And Jackson, I don't think you realize this. Every time I hear someone say push it to the limit, my brain instantly goes back to the early 80s and I'm watching Scarface. Oh. So every time I hear push something to the limit, I just want to go, the limit. So
good.
Cameron Manning, our resident, he's a SimBull guy. He's a SimBull expert. He can talk. Now I just did a mini plug for SimBull at the end of our last segment. This is the guy you talk to among some of our guys at Vendetta, but this is another guy here. You come and talk to Cameron when you want some SimBull trading talk. This is the guy. Am I right, Cameron?
I mean, listen, I can't turn that down. I'll never turn down a compliment. So, yeah, of course.
All right, so Cameron, let's get right down to it.
Sure.
The Nuggets, their playoffs are done. They're torpedoed.
That's tough, man. Gosh.
So how bad is their stock on SimBull going to plummet?
So it's going to take a hit, right? You just feel like it has to with the short-term traders that are going to be coming in, the guys that are only here for half a year post the All-Star break. Mm-hmm. They're going to bail, right? You just kind of know that's going to happen because when you lose a guy of that caliber, you know, it's so tough, man. God, my heart broke watching that and seeing Murray go down. But they're going to fall. They're going to fall. And I think that ultimately they're going to fall right now. I think they're about 33.5 per share. I would imagine they'll get back to below 30. I think there'll be some scared people that'll probably sell off, and I think it could be below 30. And I tell you, if I could grab the Nuggets at 1 share for under $30, I'm absolutely going to swipe that.
So you're more going to be buying in the long term for next season.
Yeah, I like to find value, and if people think that Murray going down is going to affect them in the short term, which of course it's going to. Nobody would argue against that. I would look to the long term. When people look to sell off short term, I try and see if there's a long-term buy, right? I love the move that they made at the trade deadline, getting Aaron Gordon. I think that was a sneaky, awesome get that not a lot of people in the league talked about. I think he's going to do wonders for Nikola in that offense. But yeah, there's going to be a short-term sell-off. There's going to end up being a rally though, I think, probably in the off season.
Gotcha.
There'll be a rally.
And I have one other thing that I definitely want to ask, and Jackson, please echo if you have a thought on it. What about the Timberwolves? You know, you got the news right now that A-Rod is going to be a minority owner in the team now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this does anything that helps their value over there on SimBull?
So, yeah, I think that there's going to be people that are going to find value in the fact that, one, the original ownership is now gone. And two, the ownership that bought them does not have Kevin Garnett's name attached to it. I think those are two positives. And I think people are going to see, oh, it's A-Rod, it's this younger crew, it's a guy that's coming in that has knowledge of what it's like to compete at a high level, even though it's not their sport. And I feel like he's going to come in and really kind of juice up the Minnesota area to buy back in to what they're looking to do. Even though he's a minority owner, they're going to throw him out front because he's the recognizable face. And that would be very smart of them to do that. So I think that I don't think people are going to hop on the Timberwolves bandwagon right now just because they are really bad. They're quite terrible.
14-40 right now, and only valued at $23 a share.
I kind of think that value's a little too high, even at 14-40, because I don't know what their next plan is. Right. We were before the All-Star break, you know, all off season into the All-Star break, it was, well, when are they going to deal Karl Anthony Towns and where is he going to go? And now all of a sudden it's, I have a brand new ownership that wants to build around Towns or at least do what they can to keep him. There's a lot of stuff that's being juggled right now. I don't even really want to touch that until the off season. And then I'll look into maybe if there's value there, finding it.
Jackson, what do you?
Yeah, just to kind of reiterate what Cam said there is that for the Timberwolves, for me, even that $23 a share, still kind of high, and it all does revolve around the fact that there is new ownership. Now, new ownership says that they want to build around Cat, but they've been trying to build around Cat forever now, and eventually it's going to get to a point where Cat's going to be unhappy, and they're going to want to blow it up. And it's easiest to blow it up when it's new ownership, because it's understandable that you're blowing everything up, because new ownership's going to be like, we want guys that we like, that we think are going to do a good job in the front office. So they get rid of the GM and the coaching staff, implement a new GM, a new regime. It's a complete overhaul. And then that new regime is going to be like, well, what the previous regime was doing. Yeah, they hit a couple times on some few draft picks and some players, but we've got some other young pieces that we think we can still build around. And there's other pieces that are just kind of aging, in that by the time it's time for us to start competing again at the end of like a 5, 6, 7 year rebuild, then Cat's going to be, you know, past that point, to the point where he's probably not going to want to play there anymore. So I would honestly stay away from the Timberwolves until we really get to see where this team is going. It may not even be off season for me for when I think of it. It may not even be next season when I think about buying the Timberwolves. Now, I could be 100% wrong. Maybe they hit the lottery. They get the number overall pick. Cade Cunningham walks into the league and the dude starts tearing it up and is getting a triple-double every night, and they're winning by double digits, and they're like a 7th seed in the playoff hunt. You know, that could obviously happen. We don't know. Things could just suddenly click. But it's just that's like too outrageous of something to happen. You know, it's not like Zion or LeBron is waiting in the wing right there to get into the league. It's a solid draft class. Yes, there's going to be some stars in there, but nothing that is like monumental, earth-shattering rookies that are coming into the league. They could be eventually, but they're not that as they're.
So the second coming of Kareem and Bill Russell aren't waiting in the wings to get.
Yeah, no. And because of that, you know, I'm out on the Timberwolves, and just you got to look at their track record too. You got to take that into consideration. If SimBull was around 15 years ago, I still probably would never have bought Timberwolves stock, because it would always be either too high or they would just have an uncertain future, and the value would never match what I'd be paying for them.
I completely agree with that. Like, they lost to the Nets today by 30, and Harden and Kyrie didn't play.
Damn.
So it's like, okay. And I get that they had Durant, and Durant, I think, is going to have a lovely future. He might turn into something. I'm not really sure yet.
Yeah, I hear some.
I think he's going to be all right.
Yeah.
It's too soon, though. I feel it's too soon. No, but
have to see more this season. He hasn't played a whole lot.
Exactly. Like Durant, Durant goes for 30, which it's Durant, so like he's going to go for 30 on anybody. But you're losing by 30 to a team that doesn't have Harden and Kyrie, and you're still down 30.
Right.
There's a lot here to unpack that isn't just, oh, the old management is out. That's great, but if the new management still sucks, like, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
You can repaint the outside of the restaurant, but if you still serve bad food and the health inspector shuts you down, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Not everybody can be Bob's Burger. Sometimes you're just going to be soybean heaven.
There you go.
So let's switch our gears to the Major League Baseball.
Well, let's do that. Absolutely. I love that oh my gosh, I was chomping at the bit when they got to Major League Baseball. So
yeah, a lot of folks here at Vendetta were as well. They were very excited about that. The Angels right now are they look to be a bit of a bargain right about now at $28.76 a share, $28.76 a share. I would have thought that they would have been in the mid-30s by now, Cameron. What's going on?
Yeah, super interesting there. I think a lot of people are weary because it's the Angels, right? And it's always Trout winning the MVP when their team is 30 games below 500. And that just is the thing, right? And that's the big joke of it. So I think it's actually wariness amongst buyers right now. And they're not really sure what's going to happen and if the actual Angels are ever going to show up. And, they lose, 15 of their next 21 kind of thing. I
also think that baseball is going to be baseball is just a more conservative game than the NFL and the NBA as well.
It is, and it's going to be. So I like to categorize it this way, right? Your day traders are going to be NFL guys.
Mm-hmm.
Your swing traders are going to be NBA guys, and your position holders are going to be baseball guys, because that's how it's set up, right? With the payback that you get from every win, with the amount of games you play every season, it's kind of set up for you as a trader to kind of just navigate to what feels right for you, I guess, or what feels better for you. So yeah, the position holders, I think are going to be the baseball guys. You're not going to see huge fluctuations that you'll see once the NFL season kicks off, like we saw last year.
Right.
It's going to be a slow and steady pace. And I think people are, especially, like you said, I think baseball fans they're so used to being like 10 games doesn't really matter. Where 10 games in the NBA is going to matter a lot more.
Right.
10 games in the NFL is everything.
That's a whole season.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, I was going to, chime in on that and say that too. It's like we're 10 games into a 160 plus game schedule. You've got teams like the Atlanta Braves and the New York Yankees that are just kind of riding the middle of the pack right now. They're two of the favorites to win the World Series. A team like the Boston Red Sox that's supposed to suck. They're supposed to be terrible. They're supposed to be going into rebuild. They're on top of the AL right now, tied with the Angels.
Yeah, they're 7-3, and they're worth now $26.61 a share. So they could even be a bargain at this point, maybe. It's only 10 games.
Exactly, and that's the thing that a lot of these guys are going to look at. When I look away, I'm sorry, I'm looking at my screen. I'm not.
So that's all right. I am too.
No, that's what we're doing too.
I just wanted to be like, they brought this guy on and he didn't even look at him. I think again, there's still a lot of wariness with the Red Sox, right? We saw who they were last year. Who are they going to be this year? Right. So yeah, to your point where the Red Sox are 7-3 right now, like the Angels are, I think people are okay waiting 25 games and getting every pitcher through 4 starts. Right. Before they start making those moves and seeing those big changes closer into the All-Star break.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk the NFL now.
Sure.
Now, I bought a share in the Jets, and I got that share making use of my Vendetta sports media promo code,
Mm-hmm.
and I bought them for $20.
Good for you.
And now they're worth $27.37 because now they're sitting at that second overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost looks like getting rid of Sam Darnold just made their value just skyrocket. Now, I'm pretty sure, I think it's safe to say for me as a stockholder in the Jets, they're going to be worth over $30 a share after day one of the draft.
For sure. I completely agree with that. I think I'm actually in the minority. I'm going to go back. I'm going to back you up even more, Brian.
Okay.
I think the Jets stole the trade from Carolina. I think Carolina overpaid. I really do. I really feel like Carolina overpaid with the amount of picks in the rounds that they gave up. Now, Carolina doesn't feel like that because they think they have their guy, which is great. That's the perfect trade.
Right.
The Jets fleeced, I think, Carolina and getting back all that equity, and Carolina got the guy that they need to build around. So everybody won.
Right.
But as far as being a shareholder of the Jets, I'm with you. I think you sit, and I think when pick 2 comes up and it is whoever it may be at 2, I don't know. It's somewhere between Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones now for some reason. So that's just nuts what's going on in the top 5 going into this draft. But I'm with you. I think after day 1, I absolutely think this Jets team bumps up past 30.
Jackson?
I'll say this. I still like Sam Darnold. I liked the move that Carolina made because if you get your quarterback, it doesn't really matter what the price you pay is, and they didn't give up a first round pick either. So at the end of the day, like, yeah, they gave up a second and some more, but they have a pretty solid overall team right now. And with that 8th pick, I doubt Kyle Pitts makes it to them, but if they want to add a stud wide receiver, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle may still be there.
You're kind of your back road internet is kind of, I think you got to get the hamster to run a little
Devontae
faster.
Smith, if they really like him, be it Slater from Northwestern or the Bengals. So what?
Oh, no.
Brian?
No, I was saying that I guess it turned out that it was me that was freezing, not you. Never mind.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever.
It was one of us.
Did you guys? Anyway, I'll just keep moving on. Here. I am a holder in the Panthers. I bought them at around 26. They're right at 25 right now. That just makes me want to buy it more because I believe in them because I'm buying the dip. And guess what, baby? I got diamond hands. They could drop below $10. I ain't selling. I got those diamond hands, baby.
Wow.
Hey, I held the line. I held the line back. And what was it, like February? I held the line. All right.
Yeah, you did.
Anthony and I, we were big about talking about that. And hey, Dogecoin almost hit $1 today, baby. I bought it when it was like 4 cents, and it's up to almost $1.
Good for you, man.
So,
so Cameron, let me ask you
diamond hands, baby.
In your expert opinion,
I got one more thing because
Okay.
I got one more thing I gotta ask Cameron this because it blew my mind because I saw Cameron's tweet about this the other day. What the heck happened with the Detroit Lions,
dude,
on the market?
I have no idea.
What happened?
They went from April 10th, they were $23, and by April 11th, they were 55.5.
Wow. Well, now they're down to 26.
And now they're all the way down to 26 2 days later almost.
That's crazy.
I have no idea what happened. And the offers, I think it's somebody trying to, I don't know what it is, man. It was like the Mets like a week ago when one dude like bought the entire Mets ownership basically of shares and just kicked the price all the way up. And I think somebody came in and wanted to play with the price a little bit.
Someone's pulling a GameStop.
I think this is literally it. This is our GameStop. This is SimBull's first ever GameStop. Like, this is breaking news. What's happening right now? And
I love it.
It's insane though. It's insane what happened with the Lions, man. But that was crazy. They doubled in price and then some in a day.
That's crazy.
Yes.
All right. So,
man, just shout out to if there was any Lions owners out there before that happened and were paying attention and saw it bump up to 50 and
then it just
somehow were able to sell it for something.
Gosh, yeah. I don't know, man, but I'm into. I still don't understand. I'm sorry if we're on a time crunch. We can definitely move along.
Oh, no, go finish your thought.
I have no idea why the 49ers are almost $40 a share. This is if there is one stock in all of SimBull that confuses me more than any, it's been the 49ers stock for the last month and a half.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to me too that they're up there like they are. I mean, they're up there among they're only $11 shy from the Chiefs.
Yeah,
and I don't get that.
They're one of the top rated stocks in all of the SimBull amongst all.
The Bengals are $42 right now.
Yeah. People love them some Joe Burrow.
Wow.
Yeah, the fact that Joe Burrow's coming back, they're getting and they're gonna have a really good.
That makes me upset because I almost bought a share when they were like $21 a few months ago.
I mean, if only somebody in this room had some Bengals shares right now, that would probably be really good for them.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm sure.
Just saying.
All right. So
I'm just saying he might exist in this room. That's all I'm saying.
All right. So it looks
there is someone in
this
room.
Yeah. I bought him at $18 a share.
Nice.
Whew. Nice.
Some would call you a thief, sir.
Well,
All right. So we're right up against it. Cameron, we're gonna have to have you on again and start talking SimBull, especially after the draft, man. I think we definitely have to talk pre and post draft because I really have a feeling that SimBull is going to explode around then.
Yeah.
So Cameron, tell us where, tell our listeners, our viewers, where can we find you online to get some more of your expert analysis?
Yeah. So I'm on Twitter at CM Says Stuff. I wanted to find a handle that really fit what my timeline looks like. And that's pretty much it. I just say a lot of stuff. I also have a show completely dedicated to SimBull on the sports network that I work with. If you go to youtube.com/shootingthesportsish, I have a SimBull show there. It's called The Sports Market. So that's what I run on a weekly basis. And then daily I'll hop on Twitter and do quick SimBull shorts, little 60-second videos. And then I'll go live on Twitter sometimes as well. So that's where you can find it.
All right. Sounds great. Like I said, we'll definitely have to have you back on so we can talk the stocks again because.
And then we can talk some hockey in a few months too.
That was another thing. Yeah. That was another thing. Now, do you know, I'm not saying that you're an insider or anything, but
I'm not an insider.
Do you have any idea if and when we might see some NHL SimBull stock?
What date is the draft? I apologize. I don't have the NHL draft in front of me. And I know you guys were just talking about it. I don't know if that date came up.
No, it didn't. Let me see.
Is it July?
Probably.
Is it like late July?
The entry draft is going to be July 23rd and 24th.
July 23rd, 24th, April, May, June. I would say that if I had to bet money, and I am not an insider, I do not claim to be. If I did, KJ would punch me in the face. So I'm not going to do that. If I had to bet based on the way that SimBull has been trending, I would say by entry draft of 2021, there would either be initial shares ready for purchase or SimBull NHL would be all the way out and ready to go right before the draft.
Hey, so you heard the speculation here, folks.
Pure speculation.
Start saving your allowance. Start saving your pennies if your wife lets you have them, so you can start getting some of that NHL stock leading into the entry draft. Cameron, thanks so much for joining us and talking SimBull. We're going to have you on again real soon. We will be back on the Tanndemonium Sports Show here on Vendetta Sports Media Network. I got to go to break before Bridget slaps me. We'll be back. The following broadcast is brought to you in association by XP Coffee Company. XP Coffee Company is the fresh brewed coffee made for gamers by gamers. Get amazing flavors like Choco Loco in 8, 12, or 16-ounce bags, or level up and get Illusion, Isolation, Nightmare, or the Majestic Throne blends in light, medium, or dark roast in whole bean, coarse French press, drip, or fine espresso in 12-ounce, 16-ounce, or 2-pound bags. Wow! Shipping worldwide. If you're in the U.S., go to usa.xpcoffee.co. If you're in Europe or in the U.K., go to www.xpcoffee.co. XP Coffee Company, for gamers, by gamers. All right, Tanimals, we're back for the final segment of the Tanndemonium Sports Show here on Vendetta Sports Media Network. And listen up, if you're a gamer or you're a sports fanatic or you're both, and you're going to be burning the midnight oil gaming like Jackson Law does, or following the SimBull trends like Cameron does, then you're going to need a drink that's going to keep you going. So, hey, XP Coffee Company. It's the coffee made for gamers by gamers. Get yours, and you know what? If you don't drink coffee, that's fine. They got hot chocolate too. XP Coffee Company. Just go to xpcoffeecompany.com. Make sure you go to the US link. We'll actually have a link to it in the description below. Now, Jackson, you had gotten yourself a brand new coffee grinder, and you started partaking in some XP coffee. Am I correct?
Oh yeah, dude, I love XP Coffee, and I'm not just saying that because we're a partner with them. I'm saying it because it's legitimately good coffee. I've ordered some in the past, tried a couple different kinds. I can't remember which two I've gotten, but both of them have been really good so far. So, nice. And they got K-cups too. So if a Keurig is your type of thing, then you can get XP Coffee flavors and the hot chocolate, I think, in K-cups too.
Nice. You know, I'm gonna jump on that because see, I'm more of a tea guy, but you know what? I'll give them a go because sometimes I need a little boost. You know, I just made a drive to Ohio this past weekend. It would have been nice if I would have had a little bit of coffee on the drive.
See, the tea is for when it's like I'm busy and I just need something that's comforting, relaxing. So some tea, a little bit of sugar and some milk. But the coffee, that's for like I got to get stuff done. It's like I've got deadlines to meet. I gotta grind stuff out, whether if it's for my day job or here at Vendetta. I got stuff I gotta get done.
Maybe you should be smart like
of it.
Maybe you should be smart like this guy. You should be smart like this guy and be a one-trick pony. Okay, then you don't have to worry about deadlines. You do a silly show once a week, and no one expects anything out of you. It's the best of both worlds.
Well, I would love to do that. I'd love to rely on other people to do that, but I can't. So I gotta do a bunch of stuff.
And as you guys can see, our special guest Cameron Manning, he's sticking around with us. We started shooting the breeze during the break, and we decided, you know what? Let's keep him on. Let's finish strong. Let's talk about it. So what were we talking about? Among other things, we started talking about the Houston Texans situation with Deshaun Watson. Yet more. I think that the number's up to 20 women are accusing Deshaun Watson now.
It's like over 20.
Over 20 at this point. I mean, my God.
And that's not just accusing. That's like filed suit, I think, too. There's been like 20 more suits filed against Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson is becoming the Wilt Chamberlain of the NFL, and not in a good way. Like every day, but it's
more like the Bill Cosby of the NFL.
Ooh, damn.
If everything is true and it's hard, it's
difficult when you've got so many people.
When you got so many,
but Jackson, one person came out and said he's been nothing but professional with me.
No, one. He's completely clean then. Absolutely, just throw the other 20 suits out. Like, what are they? Why are they still in court then?
Well, and then the news came out on Friday. You guys read that, right? About his attorney?
No.
His attorney said that Deshaun Watson has engaged in sexual encounters with some of his masseuse, anyways, and said that indicated that there were sometimes consensual encounters. So sometimes now we know for a fact that
only sometimes.
Well, I don't think it was like sometimes. I think he's saying like he didn't always have sex with him, but sometimes he did. I think it was
he didn't always have sex with his masseuses, but
right.
he was having sex with his masseuses.
But
when he did,
right? So now it's like that's a real thing. That's not 20 people crying wolf. Now, like we know those encounters have happened. So now there's merit and there's a basis for those accusations now, which only is going to make it worse.
This is why you stick with one person, and if you've got that kind of thing going, that's what you stick with. You don't go to everybody there is. You know, if you like that masseuse particularly, take them with you on road trips even. Like this is not going to end well for him.
No,
but
it's not.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's not. And what makes it worse, like you just said, Brian, he flies out multiple people from different cities. These are not all Houston-based people. A lot of them are Atlanta-based. There are some in other states. Like he's flying out different people from different states. That's not an entirely great look.
No, it's
in
not.
the midst of all of this.
And one of the things that we were starting to talk about is it's been said and it's been rumored that the Eagles might be thinking about pulling the trigger on making a trade for Deshaun Watson. And I'm pretty sure all three of us are in agreement. This would be a typical Eagles blunder. I mean, God, how many times it's bad enough that you're on the east end of Pennsylvania. It's bad enough that your fan base threw batteries at Santa and booed him. But now you're going to take this type of, you might make this type of, why are you even entertaining this? Why are they even entertaining this, Jackson? I mean,
because it's Howie Roseman. It's because it's Howie Roseman and it's the Eagles. And it would be the most Eagles thing. It's like the Eagles are the only one to pull off a trade to get Deshaun Watson. And it turns out that all these accusations are true. And then the NFL does their own investigation and they suspend Deshaun Watson. But the trade's already gone through and there's been no exceptions for it. Yeah. And so they gave up like 3 first-round picks in the future.
Meanwhile, Cameron's hometown team invokes Sliders v. Keepers.
Yes, we would.
If you're dumb enough to do it, we'll take it. And there's no take back. What do we used to say when I was in grade school and whenever we would trade our lunches? 1, 2, 3, no trade backs.
There it is.
No take backsies.
It's insane. Like the only thing you can think is that the Eagles, you know, kind of going back to the segment you had me on for and what we talked about with some of these teams, the Eagles find value in trading for Deshaun Watson right now based on where he is in the public. Right. That's the only thing that makes sense. Now that often eludes the Philly front office, so maybe it's something different, but the only thing that makes sense right now is they feel like that if this isn't happening, Deshaun Watson's worth like 1 million first-round picks, right? It's unprecedented, a quarterback of his age, at his caliber, being on the market and being available. That's never happened before in the history of the NFL.
Right.
And now they probably look at it and go, we could probably get Deshaun for
nothing.
1 or 2 firsts, a couple of seconds, and David Putney. And they're probably like, we're going to do that trade. And so
the future rights of Nick Foles, because somehow he finds his way back to Philly.
Exactly. Yeah.
And a Philly cheese.
And a Philly cheesesteak.
Yeah. Well, and the loser in all of this, I mean, listen, that could be hand out to a couple of different things, but I mean, if you're Jalen Hurts, you're like, really? That guy's going through this? I'm standing right here and you're still leaking that information that you don't want me? Like, then trade me.
Yeah.
Get me out of there then. If you don't want me, like, let me go explore and play somewhere else. Like, that's the loser in all this now.
Let me go sit behind Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Or let me go sit behind Tom Brady.
Yes, or let me go help out New Orleans, who paid $100 million fake dollars to Taysom Hill.
Oh man,
salary cap's not real. It's a fantasy. It's a fairy tale. It doesn't exist.
All we could do, just like This Is Mad, we just turn off salary cap.
Yeah, the Dolphins signed Kyle Van Noy to it was like a $40-50 million contract. It was like for 3 or 4 years. After 1 year, they just cut him and they don't have to pay him that whole thing. They paid him like a small portion of it.
That's awesome.
They're the front office is starting to find holes in those contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the legality from the NFL side to write contracts that don't exist.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's safe to say, especially with
someone's union's got to do a better job the next time that the CBA is up.
Well, I was just getting ready to say the NFLPA are probably going to be really bringing some hardball to the table this next time around, especially where the owners are forcing through the 17-game season, but they've sort of caved on the usage of marijuana for pain management, which is the only reason why the PA has agreed to it. But now they're going to be really having some serious legal experts looking over contracts and stuff to protect the people. And I think that the NFL, there hasn't been an NFL lockout since the 80s.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure we might start seeing the beginnings of one that for the next CBA, because you figure there's still an awful lot of bad blood between the players and the league as a whole over the Colin Kaepernick situation.
Mm.
Now, if this 17-game season starts making more money for the owners, but now you're seeing players get hurt more, and then the owners start trying to not so much renege, but still try to play hardball in the usage of marijuana, plus throw in them getting out of these contracts the way they're starting to get out of them.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to get dirty, and it's going to get dirty soon.
Yeah, and it will. The extra game is going to make the league another $500 million.
Mm-hmm.
So of course it's going to stay, and then they're going to find a way to get to 18. That's how the game works. The owners want to find, whilst saying that they believe in, working with the players to make a safer game, they're just going to add on games.
Yeah.
Because that makes sense.
Of course. Pretty soon, you do realize though, in about 2050, we're not even going to have like real people playing football anymore. It's going to be robots. And it's gonna be basically the movie Real Steel with Hugh Jackman, only with football.
That actually sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, or you guys probably don't remember. Cameron might remember Mutant League football on the Sega Genesis.
Oh yeah,
I remember that.
Okay,
I'm not as young as you think I am, or uncultured as you think I am. I had a childhood, Bryan.
Fair enough. Okay, I'm sorry. Don't hit me. All right, so Julian Edelman has officially retired from the New England Patriots after being unable to pass his physical. That's it. It's a wrap. He's the injuries have finally caught up to him. And this is a hot take that I'm really curious to get your guys' opinion on. And I'll give my thoughts on it afterward. So I'm just going to ask you guys, and I just want one word answer, and then we'll get into explanation after. Jackson, Julian Edelman, Hall of Famer, yes or no?
No.
Cameron?
No.
Consensus there. He's a no. And now, so Cameron, why do you say no? What is your feelings on why?
So I've really turned a corner, I think, in the last couple of years, and I've dug my heel into the university of schooling of Deion Sanders when it comes to the Hall of Fame. And Deion Sanders has always said that the Hall of Fame should be set aside for players who effectively changed the game and people wanted to come see all the time, right? It's not the Hall of Good. It is the Hall of Fame. And for that reason, not everybody should be allowed in, right? There are no participation trophies for the Hall of Fame. Right. You have to get in there. And there are going to be a slew of people from this generation that get in that never should. Phillip Rivers. But he's going to be in, but he never should be in his entire life because he did almost nothing other than throw the ball a lot. But he'll get in. Matthew Stafford will get in. A lesser version of Phillip Rivers.
Jared Goff should never even be mentioned to maybe be allowed. He shouldn't even be allowed to go there to use the bathroom.
I agree with that as well. Not allowed at all.
Shouldn't even play in the preseason game at Canton.
There you go.
Yep.
That's so good.
Absolutely.
But I think Julian Edelman was good. I think he exceeded expectation from where he was coming out of college. And he had a very good career. But this is not the Hall of Very Good. This is the Hall of Fame, and Julian Edelman will never be listed as one of the greatest wide receivers to ever do it. And if you can't be on a short list of greatest of your positions, you do not deserve that title to be in it. And, That's how I feel.
Jackson?
No, I agree 100%. And you know, we could have a separate argument about this guy, but if this guy's not a Hall of Famer, then Julian Edelman is not a Hall of Famer. And I'm shouting out your boy here, Brian. Hines Ward
Thank you.
is not in the Hall of Fame.
And I'm sorry, Hines Ward is a far better player than Julian Edelman.
Oh, absolutely. Like, listen, here's his stats career-wise: 1,000 catches, over 1,200 yards, 85 touchdowns, Super Bowl MVP, and 4-time Pro Bowler as a wideout for dominant, basically 5 or 6 years where he was the guy, and he was a part of 2 Super Bowls.
And he did it with no ACL.
So it's like
with no
yeah,
ACL.
so it's and then he when you talk about defining moments, and I've gone over to Trey's article about this because he wrote about this and it got published right before we were talking about the show. But memorable moments from Hines Ward, because everyone likes to talk about, and like Colin Cowherd is a sucker for this, about talking about, the moments. What is the moment when you're talking about a guy? Here's a couple that Trey listed from Hines Ward. In his Super Bowl MVP.
You want me to share your screen?
I'll just say it off real quickly.
Okay.
It's
right.
no
good.
big deal. So 2006 Super Bowl MVP catches a bomb from Antoine Randall that secured the title.
L.
Yeah, Randall L.
Yep.
Yeah. He is the leading receiver in the history of Pittsburgh Steelers, like in most statistical categories. And you want to talk about, and basically Pittsburgh is wide receiver U when it comes to NFL teams.
The fact
they
that
seem
Hines
to always
Ward,
hit the nail.
A 3rd round draft pick, is ahead of John Stallworth, Louis Lips, and Lynn Swann.
Mm-hmm.
2 Hall of Famers and another guy who would be in the Hall of Very Good. If Louis Lips doesn't have injury issues, he's in the Hall of Fame. So continue.
No, it's just, how can you sit there and say that Julian Edelman belongs in there? Because, he caught passes in key moments, and he's like second only to Jerry Rice in playoff receptions. It's like, yeah, but you have to look at their career as a whole.
Right.
You can't,
rules were never changed because of Julian Edelman. They changed rules for Hines Ward because a wide receiver broke the jaw of a linebacker. And folks,
he obliterated Ed Reed. Like,
yes,
that's like a famous play that no one talks about.
Right.
Destroying Ed Reed, one of the top safeties ever in the NFL, one of the top DBs in the NFL, destroyed the man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
so it's just
I agree.
And again to cut in just real quickly, you talk about who are the top receivers from like the mid 2000s. You always got to talk about, it's always Hines Ward, Terrell Owens, and
Randy Moss.
Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco,
and
Randy Moss. Yeah. Now Chad Johnson's probably not going to make it into the Hall of Fame, but Hines Ward was essentially the number 3 guy for the mid 2000s. Like when you talk about Terrell Owens, Hall of Fame, Randy Moss, Hall of Fame, and he was right up there with it. He was competing and was beat for beat with every single one of those guys for about a 4-year span.
If he is
all during their primes.
If
maybe
he's
maybe a little later in Randy's, but in T.O.'s prime.
Right. If he's at least the same height as Moss or Owens, he's even closer of a number 3, but he's an undersized guy from Georgia, and he was a 3rd round pick.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree. Edelman doesn't deserve, he's in the Hall of Very, Very Good. If you want to put him in the Patriots Hall of Fame, go ahead.
He should be. Yeah, 100% should be.
Yeah. Team Hall of Fames are for those guys that are super important to your team. Yeah. But the Hall is for those guys that transcended the sport.
Yes, exactly. Like Maurice Jones-Drew should be in the Jaguars Hall of Fame, but he should not be in any other Hall of Fame.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, and anyone who says otherwise, you know what? You're entitled to your very wrong opinion.
I'd love a good debate.
Yeah. You know, I've been very critical. I've not been critical of Najee Harris as a player, Jackson Law. But I have, Cameron Manning, been very critical of everyone that says that the Pittsburgh Steelers should take Najee Harris in the first round. I have been saying since before the Steelers implosion.
No. He was just getting into it too.
I've been.
You could see the look on his face. He was really starting.
It happens. I know.
I'm frozen again. Am I back? Am I back now?
Yeah, you're back.
You're back.
You're back.
You're back. Yeah.
So I've been critical of them saying that the Steelers should take Najee Harris in the first round. I've been saying, and I've got the receipts, since before the implosion, the Steelers need to shore up their offensive line before they do anything else. But Najee Harris, I've never said that he's not a good player.
Sure.
But Todd McShay, and we've been talking about these, and I said this on a Twitter, I went on a, not even so much on a Twitter rant, but I went on Twitter and I said that I congratulated Najee Harris for telling Todd McShay to kiss his ass. I absolutely congratulate this young man for doing that. Because these journalists, man, they really feel like they're the ultimate Twitter trolls, and they can say whatever they want, and there's going to be no heat coming back at.
Yeah.
Do I think Najee Harris is going to be a special player? Maybe. He's a running back. Running back isn't the marquee position that it used to be.
Sure.
I think Saquon, I agree with, I believe Scott Loesch, or Vendetta said it, and I probably just butchered his name, but he even said he was against the Saquon Barkley drafting because, yeah, you might have a great running back, but you got Daniel Jones as your quarterback. Whoops. But Todd McShay made it a point to say that Najee Harris showed quote unquote improvement as a pass catcher. Najee Harris didn't get a lot of snaps his first 2 years.
No, because he was playing behind an insane running back room.
Yeah. And then when he did get on the field, you've got 2 future first-round picks at wide receiver. So why is anyone going to be throwing to the running back?
Yeah.
You throw to the running back when you've got no one else to throw to. That is your last resort before you throw the ball away or you get hit. So
unless you're Christian McCaffrey, then it's like part of your offensive scheme to just dump the ball off to you and let you go do your thing.
Or you're Ben Roethlisberger because, well, your arm's a noodle.
You can't get it 4 yards past the line of scrimmage.
So why do I bring this up? We've been talking off air and a little bit on air about the product of sports presentation as a whole. Now, Cameron, Jackson, the three of us, I would like to consider us in our own ways journalists. We're talking heads in our own ways, but we're not trolling athletes. We're presenting the truth as we see it. And because we are independent entities, we have more scrutiny on us to come correct with our analysis and to come correct with our critiques. Can we all agree on that?
Absolutely.
So what does it say then for the sake of this industry that we've chosen, where so-called experts that are making the millions of dollars are able to just spew stupidity and no one checks them except the players? Where does that have us sit as a whole as sports broadcasting?
Oh man, that's a loaded question.
I know. I'm good for those.
I think, no, I appreciate it. I do. For me, I use it as a gauge of where I am, right? Like, am I too far to one side or the other? Am I saying really stupid things that have no value or that I can't at least back up in a personal claim or statistically? And there are a handful of people, and off air, I caught a little bit from you guys, but there are a handful of people I look to to make sure I'm not doing what they're doing. And I think a lot of it was they were in radio and television and they need ratings, and those guys bring ratings. Like, a guy that I can stand in a sense is the guy that I give less scrutiny to more than others is Colin Cowherd. And here's why I say this. At minimum, he has a segment once a week where he talks about everything he said that was wrong and incorrect going into whatever game it was that week. So at minimum, I put him ahead of a lot of these other guys because he at least has the whatever it is to call himself out and say where he was wrong. So I'm okay with stuff like that. But for me, I look at it as that kind of stuff is going to draw ratings, and $1 million companies need ratings. And that's where you get Skips and Shannon Sharps, and you get your Stephen A's, and you get Max Kellerman outside of boxing, and you get Will Kane on radio. And they're polarizing figures that people want to watch and scream at the television for why they're wrong. But they're watching it. They're hate watching it, but they're watching it, and that's what the studio needs them to do, is to hate watch.
J-Law?
I agree 100%, and it's weird to say this because they're at the top, but it's just like it's kind of like their own version of clout chasing. It's like you wouldn't think they need the clout because they're at the top, but it's like their whole livelihood is dependent on being at the top and always being at the top. And we kind of joke about it around here. Like, a lot of us at Vendetta sometimes, like, we'll have, similar takes. Like, there's like people that have different takes than us, obviously, like inside, but a lot of us are sometimes in vast majority agreement. And it's like we say, it's like it's hard to really judge Carson Wentz and Sam Darnold. They have the intangibles, they have all the tools there to succeed. They just weren't put in good positions to succeed. And it's hard to play at your best when, like in Sam Darnold's case, he is running out there on the field with guys that individually and as a whole on the offensive line, receivers, and on the defensive side ranked in the bottom 10 at individually at their position, and then just as a whole ranked at the bottom 10. It's hard to succeed when you're not set up for success.
Right.
And I totally forgot where exactly I was going.
You were kind of talking about how some of us in Vendetta sort of see things in the same light.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's one thing that we see in the same light, and we always joke about that because it's like, well, it doesn't make for good conversation because it just kind of gets into a thing where it's like, I think this, well, I agree. This is why I also, think that way. And then we move on to the next segment. That stuff doesn't necessarily sell as much as Skip and Shannon spouting nonsense at each other for 3 hours. And the same thing with Max and Stephen A, and Stephen A, saying that officers need to arrest and drug test everyone that put together like ESPN's like top 10 players under 25 and stuff like that. That stuff sells more, and they kind of sell themselves out because from people that work in that industry, they have openly admitted to the fact that they've been in those meetings, and it's just like, here's one opinion, here's the opposing opinion, who wants to take what? And then here's the point of view, here's the points that support this idea, and here's the points that support this other idea. Who wants what? Take it. We'll run it out there. And then it's the same thing because you've always got like the old reliable, which is LeBron or Jordan debates.
Jordan.
And
why
like
is Tom Brady
and
not
like everybody's got their bits.
Yep.
Yeah, or it's like Skip has this weird obsession with LeBron that he just absolutely hates him for no reason.
I swear to God, Skip Bayless is in love with him.
And he went from not even saying Kawhi Leonard's name, just calling him number 2, that guy, to now he's like wearing his jersey and talking about how such a great player he is. And it's all because he has this persona of the biggest LeBron hater. It's the same thing with like Rob Parker absolutely hates Tom Brady, like despises Tom Brady. And it's really funny because as I am a Dolphins fan, so Tom Brady has just, crushed, young and old Jackson from the time I was like 2 to now, he has destroyed all hopes and dreams of the Dolphins ever becoming anything and making any noise in the NFL.
The Dolphins are going to go all the way this year. No, they're not, kid.
No, not with Tony Soprano as our head coach. I'll tell you that much. Tony Sparano. But anyway, the point I'm just trying to make is that they just spout nonsense. They have their sticks and they stick with them. And it does enough to sell right now. But at the same time, it's like people are catching onto their shtick. So it's almost like what you see in everything else that's going on in the world is that they just continue to double down and try to stick with that and hope that it continues to sell. And hopefully people one day will wake up and realize this is stupid. I got to go somewhere else.
Well,
and they can come here to us at Vendetta.
We've been conditioned to think that too. Like I've been conditioned as a sports fan that I either want to watch two guys debate or I'm going to listen to a podcast that is specifically dedicated to the team or school that I follow. Because if I go to the specific team or school, I'm listening to people that think the same way as me about the same team that we follow. Where if I want to watch these guys on national television, I need them to debate because I want to pick a side and I want to yell at my TV why the other side is wrong. And the other thing too is I don't think people do enough research. Like there are so many people I talk to that don't understand where Skip Bayless got his start and how he got his fame. And Bryan, as you know, you consider yourself the elder statesman, so I'll give it to you. But you may know this, Jackson. And you guys both may know it. I don't know. Skip Bayless was a beat writer in Dallas for the Cowboys.
Yes,
he got famous because he wrote an article about how Troy Aikman was gay with absolutely no anything to verify.
I remember that.
Fact check it.
I remember that.
And that is how Skip Bayless got his fame. It all stemmed from an article he wrote with absolutely no evidence or anything, outing a guy like Troy Aikman, who at that point was married with, I think he had 2 kids at that point. And I think I can't remember exactly what it was.
And his wife was like he was the Tom Brady of his era. Everyone hated Troy Aikman because here was this unlikable guy from California with this beautiful wife. And how dare he have all the riches? And oh wow, this guy says he's gay.
Yeah, and that's how Skip got his start. And then you know, people think that they're going to change, and then we fast forward to Bosch Spice, and that thing that happened with Chris Bosch, where Chris Bosch had to go on national television and defend his last name for some reason, and he did it in such an incredible, eloquent way that I love Chris Bosch even more than I already do, seeing him go through that. But like, that's what they do. That's what guys like Skip do. They hone in on one thing. They say it really loudly in front of a camera. And then like Jackson said, they double and triple down. And that's how they get viewership out of it.
I agree. And we're getting to the point where we're almost out of time, but I will say this. I will never troll for the sake of trolling. Look, you guys watch this show, it's because you want to watch the show. You know that anytime you come here, when I talk, when Jackson, myself, and our guests, when we talk, I'm going to give you my opinion, and I'm going to give it to you unabridged, and that's it. And if you're looking for a show where the host is just going to fight with someone for the sake of fighting with them, then you've picked the wrong show. I'm not going to argue with Cameron Manning just because, I need to chase clout on social media. I'm going to argue with Cameron.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to bring someone else from Vendetta on here and fight with them. There's individuals with Vendetta that I've feuded with behind the scenes that I've said will never be on the show. Now, granted, one of the individuals that's that's no longer on the table. We hash things out because I don't do conflict for the sake of conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I'm going to have a spirited debate with someone, I'll have it, but I'm not going to invent it.
Exactly.
So, and
it's not going to be artificial,
right? If me and Cameron are going to have a very, very heated debate where we have to go either back to where we didn't know who the hell each other were, or take like a week before coming back at it, it's got to be for real.
Yeah.
It's not going to be, all right, well, let's talk about this, but you say this and we're just going to fight about it. No, I don't do that. And I'm not going to do that. I'll never do that. I at least have some what I would like to call journalistic integrity.
There you go.
And I only surround myself with people that are like-minded in that way.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if we're going to fight about if Hines Ward should be in the Hall of Fame, then yes, let's fight about it as long as it's genuine. But
right.
I also only surround myself with intelligent individuals. So I guess I won't be having that fight.
I got a question for you guys real quickly before we close, and it's going back to the Hines Ward thing. Okay, here is the question. Hines Ward is beating X player in yards and receiving touchdowns and receptions, not Pro Bowls. This player was recently voted into the Hall of Fame. He is in this year's Hall of Fame class, the 2021 Hall of Fame class, and it's someone first ballot Hall of Famer, someone we knew that was going to be on the ballot and get into the Hall of Fame.
Megatron?
Calvin Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Megatron.
Mm-hmm.
Hines Ward has more touchdowns, more receptions, has a Super Bowl MVP. And Calvin Johnson got it in first ballot.
Yeah.
This goes to show why Julian Edelman shouldn't even be allowed to say Hines Ward.
I will riot. I will riot. I will walk. I will start a march to Canton, Ohio, and people from across the country, we can just meet up on the highway as we walk towards there.
Julian Edelman shouldn't even be allowed to say Hines Ward's name 5 times in the bathroom mirror with the lights out. Okay? That's just all there is to it. Does that mean that Julian Edelman isn't a good guy or was a good football player? Absolutely not. He's probably the greatest dude in the world. He just played for the wrong team, and he had a lot more grit than he had talent.
Yeah. I really think Julian Edelman's going to do a lot off the field. That's where he's going to make his bones, because he was right in the middle of that whole Myers Leonard thing. Good gracious. And send him that message and stuff. And I feel like there's a lane that Julian Edelman is absolutely going to excel at, being an off the field guy, fighting for that type of thing in sports and in the NFL specifically.
I agree. I think that Julian Edelman's best days in football are only ahead of him. They're just not as a player. Like I could see Julian Edelman being an amazing coach because he knows the game.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see.
Yeah. No,
I want to close out the show. We lost a hip hop icon a few days ago. Earl Simmons, aka DMX, Darkman X, is a man who, it's been said anywhere that folks are talking about him, his voice was the most recognizable. If you were even a casual hip hop listener, you knew DMX. You knew his voice. He was not one of these cookie cutters that everyone sounds the same. He was the guy. And despite his own personal demons, which I'm not even going to bring up. Look, yes, the man had demons. It's because of those demons that he is now finally able to rest in peace. But even with those demons, he went on to use that pain to make amazing music, both in traditional hip hop and in gospel. And a loving father, a loving friend, and a man who he didn't even need a hype man, guys. This guy did all of his hype on his own. He might have had a DJ who was energetic, but DMX was his own hype man.
Mm-hmm.
And he brought it every time he came on stage, but he was also the most down-to-earth guy.
Yeah.
And this world is a little bit sadder and a little bit darker with his loss. So rest in peace, finally, not just in power, because you walk this earth with a strength. And it's a strength that you shouldn't have had to have. So I will say to you, DMX, Mr. Earl Simmons, rest in peace. Much love to your family and especially your children as they grieve. With that being said, Cameron, thanks for joining us. It's great having you on yet again. I got to say, now we're saying bye to you twice.
It's awkward. It's like when you say bye to somebody and you both walk to the same spot in the parking lot.
Yeah, I know, right?
And you just keep like carrying on the conversation that you were just talking about a minute ago.
Yeah. But we definitely want to have you come back on and talk more SimBull, especially pre-NFL draft, post-NFL draft. And you know what? Maybe during these drafts, pre and post, we'll bring you on and talk more SimBull because you're the SimBull stock guy. That's your thing.
I'd love to, man. I'd love to.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, man.
He's Jackson Law. I'm Bryan Tan. She's Bridget Rounds. This is the Tanndemonium Sports Show here on Vendetta Sports Media. Go to vendettasportsmedia.com to check out all of our content. Follow us, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You want to see the CEO, the man, the myth, the legend, the president himself, Trey Daubert, do some of the worst dancing of all time? Go to TikTok. You'll see it there. Just look it all up, Vendetta Sports Media. You'll find us. And we'll see you next week because I'm sure we're going to have a lot more stuff to talk about. And I want to end off every show saying something inspirational and moving. So something inspirational and moving. Take care.